Welcome to Day 15 of the Canon Law in a Year podcast. Today we will finish Book 1, Title 4, Chapter 3 of the Code, titled Rescripts, with Canons 68 through 75. If you want to follow along, we are using the translation from the Canon Law Society of Great Britain and Ireland, which you can see on the website www.canonlaw.ninja, linked in the description below. Beginning with Canon 68. A rescript of the Apostolic See in which there is no executor must be presented to the ordinary of the person who obtains it only when this is prescribed in the rescript, or when there is question of public affairs, or when it is necessary to have the conditions verified. Note: so if the Holy See grants a rescript and there is no executor, the recipient's local bishop or other ordinary doesn't need to be notified unless the listed conditions apply. Continuing with Canon 69, a rescript for whose presentation no time is determined may be submitted to the executor at any time, provided there is no fraud or deceit. Canon 70. If in a rescript the very granting of the favor is entrusted to the executor, it is a matter for the executor's prudent judgment and conscience to grant or to refuse the favor. Note: so imagine, a person requests a rescript that would have an executor, but the authority they requested it from, for some reason, isn't certain whether it should be granted. They can give the executor of a lower authority and who may be more familiar with the situation the power to grant or deny it based on their own judgment. Continuing with Canon 71, no one is obliged to use a rescript granted in his or her favor only, unless bound by a canonical obligation from another source to do so. Note: barring other obligations, you don't have to make use of a rescript you've been granted. An example for this canon is given in the book The Code of Canon Law, a Text and Commentary, commissioned by the Canon Law Society of America. Their example is that of a priest who has been granted the privilege of having a private chapel. Even though he has permission to use a private chapel, that doesn't make him required to do so. However, if some situation arises where he has need of a chapel to fulfill some other obligation, he ought to use it. They use this great line at the end: no one should be affected adversely by the non-use of a concession. If you must do something and you have everything you need to do it, then you really have no excuse to not do it. Continuing with Canon 72, rescripts granted by the Apostolic See which have expired can, for a just reason, be extended by the diocesan bishop, but only once and not beyond 3 months. Canon 73. No rescripts are revoked by a contrary law unless it is otherwise provided in the law itself. Canon 74. Although one who has been granted a favor orally may use it in the internal forum, that person is obliged to prove the favor for the external forum whenever this is lawfully requested. Note: basically, if something is granted to you and it isn't in writing, then you can use it privately, but once it enters the public sphere, if proof is requested by someone with the authority to ask for it, you need to provide it. That would usually mean getting a written statement from a witness who can verify that you were granted the favor. Canon 75. If a rescript contains a privilege or a dispensation, the provisions of the following canons are also to be observed. That's a bit of a sneak peek at tomorrow's episode, when we will start Chapter 4 and see the rules governing privileges. And that brings us to the end of Day 15. I will see you all tomorrow for Canons 76 through 80. Have a great day, and God bless you.